button, it goes red, and then I'm live on YouTube right now. There's a 15.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion of those meeting minutes? All in favor of approval, say aye. Aye. Oppose? Motion passes. Bank balances is next. I had a text from Joyce. She is in charge of that, but she could not make it today. She texted ahead of time. And we have operating fund, 76,954.94. Our maintenance fund, 7,910.86. And our money market account, 42,317.96. Under admin report with BCS, Chris, have you got anything to add?
The financial position's good. The cash balance total is not climbing the way that we expect given the revenue, but that's simply because I know for Nucor there are some payment timing issues. They're paying their pump and haul separate from the regular sewer bill, and Amy's working with them to get that cadence down. So we might bill them, and that shows up as in the revenue history, but as far as when they actually pay, it can be different. So in terms of the net surplus this month, very strong, 17,000, almost 18,000. And so the year is positive at 9,000 for regular operating surplus. The budget's good. We talked about USIC having those locates annual fees that's high, but the per month is really low. This month, $38 on locates. So that was a good lower month. Tom Klein was kind enough to train me on live streaming. We're live streaming right now, and we'll just keep dry running that until July 1st when we have to do it every single meeting. And then no other major updates on the business operations. Again, we've invoiced for that $18,000 capacity fee for Nucor for that new civil lift station that they're putting in. Jacob did confirm the designs, I think, if you want to, I don't know if you want to say anything about it, but we got that design plan update.
Yeah, VS approved the resubmitted plans. We had just asked them to add a couple notes based on the MCRSD details, and they did that.
So moving forward with that, no issued permit, but it's getting close. Thank you, VS, for being on top of that. This is just something that David and I were talking about just before this, but how do we, again, I'm going to stop calling it the growth strategy and call it the rate reduction strategy. How do we pursue rate reduction for the district? Obviously, we can cut costs and we can increase revenue. Both of those things will do that. And we talked about the Mace and Lindsberg project being put off until next year when we can try to pursue some SRF funding for that. That's one way to do it. Another way, again, would be the 64 properties that we try to incentivize. Doing compelled connections or enforcement would also be a way to grow revenue for the district. So just continuing that conversation. No major highlights from the website. There were some increased activities, but nothing major to report on that. So admin report complete.
Excellent, thank you for doing that. Operations, with the maintenance report with Tom. I know Tom sent out the email. We're still hovering around that 50,000 gallons per month, 50% capacity. Doesn't look like there's much going on. Tommy, if you got anything to add to that?
Yes, and obviously the goal is to get those reports before the weekend, and I was out of town, had some issues with my flight back. Going to continue to work on that, but yeah, so the plant, 50,000, about half capacity. The maximum daily flow is 72,000 gallons, which is the surge capacity of the plant is 200,000. So we're sitting good, and so throughout February we were in full permit compliance, and even through this kind of extreme rainfall event, we maintained compliance. Everything worked as it should. So we're in really good shape on that. I don't know how granular you want me to get on everything, but we had some prior approved projects that have been completed. I think we have a couple outstanding ones: the effluent disc filter pump motor replacement, and sludge wasting pumps at the SBR reactors need to be pulled and cleaned. But we did have, the recurring issues with the North Lift Station presented some pretty major issues last week, and we were able to, there were no overflows or anything like that, but we did discover why we believe why we've been having so many issues with that particular lift station. There are two separate things going on there. The first thing would be we were due, about now we're due for an annual cleaning of all the lift stations. We did find, we have it set on an annual schedule to have fluid waste come out and jet and vac everything out there. There was a decent amount of grit and debris at the bottom there that could have been causing some of the impeller damage that we've been seeing. So we might need to adjust the periodicity of that a little bit, maybe do for that particular lift station anyway. The other lift stations didn't seem to be in bad of shape. It's really just those two lift stations. So maybe we can look at adjusting that to do semi-annual. But we did find some steel construction stakes that were at the very, very bottom there. And we don't know for sure, if they were getting sucked up into the pumps, then that would explain the impeller damage. So what we did was we had Indiana Pump Works do a confined space entry to remove those to prevent any future issues with that. The other thing we discovered is when the new pump was installed by Xylem. Xylem is another one of our subcontractors. They represent flight pumps. It seems as though they set the VFD incorrectly. They set the VFD for a 20 horsepower pump as opposed to 11 horsepower. And I have a conference call scheduled with Xylem later this week to obviously discuss what we're going to do about this. I fully expect them to warranty the pumps that were damaged by that electrically. And we'll continue to keep you up to date on that. We rely on them to do, to program the VFD correctly when they reinstall a pump. It's disappointing that, and sometimes they have trouble retaining staff, just like a lot of businesses have. But IPW seems to have a higher caliber of employee. So we have that call. I'll update you guys on that. That's later this week. The other thing that we have is we have some options for less expensive pumps that we're looking into. So the original pumps, so IPW, they don't rep Flight. Flight is a premium engineered product. You know, it's a good product, but it's, you know, I think they're made in Sweden. And, you know, they're very expensive pumps, you know, $20,000 a piece. And there's a brand that IPW reps, which is called Homa. It's about half the price of the other ones. IPW is a good company. I take their word for it. You know, they're compatible with the VFDs and everything. Half the price. The other thing is that these pumps were spec'd by Moore and Brugink, which is the company that originally built the plant. They spec'd them as explosion proof, which really, you know, there are very few lift stations you go to where you have pumps spec'd that way. There's really, you know, when you know, it's not necessarily a across the board standard. So I'm going to look into flight and see what the non-explosion proof model would cost, you know, for future reference to keep our costs down.
It might be the same pump, it's just it doesn't have the certification.
Right, exactly. You mean, you're talking about $20,000 for an 11 horsepower pump. That's crazy. You know, you know, with everything
Yeah, if
going
you
on.
can, you know, give us both options of that, and we can see the savings or the, and then experiment with that, I guess, and see where it plays out, and if we're saving money, and as long as we're not going back and repairing them, and
Yeah, absolutely. You know, especially kind of in some of the experiences that we've had. You know, they're
will they be,
well-regarded pumps.
will they be able, is that, so they will look at that and tell us on the one pump if, or the one or two lift stations that maybe need to go twice a year? Is that the same company, and they'll tell
That's
us?
fluid waste. They're
Fluid
a
waste.
separate one, yeah.
Okay.
But
All
we've had really good luck working with IPW. But obviously, and the other thing with all the trouble that we've had here, you know, we understand that, you know, the district still is kind of climbing out of the hole financially, and we're going to suspend all of our, you know, we have a 15% contractual markup in our agreement, you know, so when we pass through, when vendors work for us, you know, we pass that along. But for this particular, all the issues we've been having at lift station, number one, to just as a token of, you know, a token of appreciation, I guess, you know, just not going to mark that up for the stuff that we've had here recently there, just to assist the district financially. And if necessary, we're always able to offer longer payment terms, you know, if you guys do run into some cash flow. But you know, it sounds like you guys have climbed out of it pretty well and are in a much better spot than you were last year. But
Right.
that's something that we're cognizant of.
And then you'll let us know next month on the conversation you have for the warranty on the pumps and all that.
Absolutely. And
Okay.
if they don't warranty that pump, then I'll go to war with them. I mean,
Okay, that's fine. There was, what else did you have on there? Yeah. Other than that, looks good. So we're in good shape.
I'm quite hopeful that we finally gotten to the bottom of all those issues, lift station number 1A. You know, it wasn't an issue until just 6 months ago, the entire time we've operated the system. I think we only had like one service call, and it just,
Well, maybe, and then going back to that about looking into doing two of those lift stations twice a year instead of annually. And
Yeah.
if we found that that was a good thing, and that if that were to be the case, we can always go back if they find that it's not necessary to do twice.
yeah, absolutely. And we're there whenever they're doing the work and taking pictures and, you know, observing what's going on there. We also have a logbook system, you know, every day we visit those lift stations, write down the pump amp meters and all that stuff, so.
Okay. Well, appreciate that. Project updates, I don't have anything on project updates or new business. Is there any new business that either you guys as board members have? No? Old business, public meeting, video access training, and BCS, you guys did that and we're actually.
Success. We are live streaming right. I double checked on my phone. We are
Okay.
live streaming.
Excellent. And approval of claims. We have claims in the amount of $42,425.70. I would entertain a motion to approve those claims. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? And we we have the RDC loan payment in that, and what is our balance? Is that the 42,000? Is that our balance to pay back to the RDC? No, that was actually 40.
I can pull up the balance right now.
We were gonna do that over a period of a year and have it paid back, or,
Because I was curious what our term was on that. I didn't know if we were gonna get maybe by the end of the year where we were financially solvent enough we could wipe that thing out.
that's what we hope, because I think we're on pretty much zero interest, I believe.
It's 5, wasn't it?
I'd have to look at the agreement again.
It's been a minute since we,
I'm gonna pull up the amortization table right now.
okay,
So let me do that.
so you can update that. That's just a question I had.
Great question. So the loan is a 5% interest rate loan.
Yep.
And we're on payment number 5 this month. The balance should be $35,290.22 as of the end of last month, once we made that
And
payment.
how many more payments is that scheduled for?
It will go to 12 payments because it was a year-long payoff, and it'll be done in November of this year.
Excellent. Good deal. All right. Looks like that's it for our agenda items, the list that we had today, approval of claims. Oh, vote on, no. All in favor of approving the claim, say aye. Aye. Pose? Motion passes. Thank you. If there's no other business to come before the board, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. We have our